Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation of Little Acts of Kindness. This will be Part 57, Chapter 57, entitled Rest for the Wicked. Shota gently held Midoriya. The boy hadn't said anything since they heard the news, had been trembling, and looked as if one strong gust of wind would blow him away. Currently, they were in the teacher's lounge, Hisashi having finished driving them with white knuckles. Their car was now in need of some repairs, but that wasn't important. What was important was finding out what Midoriya needed. Perhaps he should have Midoriya take the day off. He voiced the question to Midoriya, who shook his head, then nodded, finally shrugging. Midoriya was unsure. Maybe a partial day off, then. Homeroom for sure. Eventually, some of the other teachers showed up, grabbing things they needed for the day. Most didn't show any reaction to Midoriya being there, but Shota did notice that ectoplasm seemed to glower. He noticed the way Midoriya hunched, burying himself into his side, as if Midoriya could hide away from ectoplasm. Black eyes narrowed as he followed the math teacher with a deadpan planning your murder stare, as ectoplasm walked out of the teacher's lounge. It had been slightly amusing at first, when ectoplasm had started to act weird around Hisashi. Then it had become a minor annoyance when it went from being stiff to starting to provoke Hisashi. Now it was becoming a problem if ectoplasm was taking out whatever had crawled up his ass and died on the kids. Or was it just Midoriya? He would have to question ectoplasm, even if it meant hog-tying the teacher and throwing him into Gym Zeta until the teacher cracked and spilled this information. There was a reason Nezu had torture as a level option, though that level was not something ever used on the kids. Shota let his lip twitch up into a smile as Hisashi came in, holding jelly packets, a coffee, and a hot chocolate. Midoriya gave a grateful look to Hisashi, but said nothing. "What's going on?" Namuri asked, looking at them with a concerned gaze. Showing up behind Hisashi. "We're planning how to hunt down and murder someone," Shota commented dryly. Namuri raised an eyebrow, lip twitching up. "Been there, done that, so who are we murdering?" "Nashi Doi," Hisashi growled, even as he gently ruffled Midoriya's hair, murmuring to the kid. "We won't let him hurt you. We will do everything in our power to stop him." Namuri's blue eyes sharpened, and Shota saw the moment she connected everything together. Any suspicions she had now confirmed. The teachers knew someone had been hurt during the sports festival, but Nezu hadn't informed them as to who, saying that the kids' teachers already knew. And Shota knew Namuri was smart, that she was already aware that Midoriya had some sort of trauma. She looked at the both of them. "You two have your homerooms to get to." "They can look after themselves," Hisashi instantly said. "And get into trouble." Hisashi groaned, glowering a bit. "I hate my homeroom," he grumbled half-heartedly, not really hating them, but disliking how they acted most of the time. Shota had listened to Hisashi's complaints about 1C, aka General Studies kids. Turns out most of them didn't work well with others and had personalities that wouldn't get them good publicity as a hero. They also didn't sit still well, and were always moving around if a teacher wasn't in the room to watch them. The kids didn't even bother with the fidget devices or necklaces that Hisashi had given them. Shota remembered the afternoon after Hisashi had given them the fidget devices and necklaces, which had been before Hosu, and had honestly been what inspired Shota to get his kids fidget devices, though Hisashi admitted to getting them and Class 1B shoe necklaces. Anyways, that afternoon Hisashi had practically been in tears, his gifts for the class having been rejected by the kids. "What do you take us for, babies? Why the hell would we need toys?" Shota remembered his husband quoting one of the students to him. Honestly, he was ready to show those kids his parkour gym and tell them if they passed hard difficulty they could join the hero class just to see them get some sense knocked into them. Luckily, though, his kids seemed to love the shoe necklaces and fidget devices the two teachers had given them. Shota was pretty sure Hisashi considered himself Class 1A's unofficial second homeroom teacher. Shota knew he did. "Shota, you need to go as well," Namuri said. Hisashi slowly walking away, having seen Namuri's point of needing to keep an eye on the class. "Don't want to," he replied, petulant. A small crack as Namuri cracked her whip. "Unfortunately, you need to warn those kids of yours that you plan to have them go through your gym, or at least make sure they are doing fine on their homework." Shota stared at her flatly, and her gaze softened. "I'll watch over Midoriya. Besides, your kiddo and I still haven't had a chance to talk. Now might not be the best time for such a talk, but I think it would help." He raised an eyebrow at her, but noticed that Izuku lifted his head, hands twisting a bit. "I forgot that we were supposed to talk." He didn't want to say I'm sorry. "It's no excuse. I should have remembered." Namuri smiled. "It's fine." You had a busy week for your internships after all. I was planning on talking with you at lunch today, but now works as well. What are you going to talk about? Shota questioned lightly, finishing his cup of coffee, jelly packet shoved into a pocket for later. Nemuri's eyes were a bit distant. Just a bit of history. Some advice and all that. Shota stared at her for a moment, then looked at Midoriya, who nodded. Finally he sighed and got up as Midoriya scooted off of him. He had a class to get to. As he walked out of the room, he sent a glance over his shoulder, seeing Nemuri sit on the couch, leaving a space for the kiddo. Green eyes met his own, and Shota felt his gaze soften as Midoriya sent him a small smile. His kiddo was strong. Izuku gazed at Midnight Sensei with wary eyes, but he wanted to trust her. After all, Aizawa and Yamada trust her. I wanted to let you know that if you need someone to talk to about what that bastard did to you, that you can always come talk to me. Midnight started, after cracking a whip at a hero Izuku recognized but didn't have as a teacher. That teacher quickly fled the teacher's lounge, leaving them alone. Izuku frowned a bit, shifting his hands. But I'm supposed to talk with Growl Dog. Or I could talk with Tired Cat and Loud Cockatoo. And if you feel comfortable talking with them, then do so. But I know that I would have preferred someone who actually understood what I went through. His frown deepened, his green eyes sharpened a bit. Surely Midnight Sensei wasn't implying what Izuku thought she was, right? Midnight held his gaze. You aren't alone. What I'm about to tell you, very few people know, but I want you to know that what happened to you doesn't make you weak. You are strong, all right? Izuku swallowed, nodding. When I was a third year, I was raped, Midnight said bluntly, grimacing. He stared with wide eyes, questions running through his head a mile a minute. Midnight sighed. The guy had a quirk that could force people to crave whatever was done to them, or they were feeling in the next minute. Izuku felt a wave of cold wash over him. You mean? Izuku cut off his signing as Midnight nodded. He forced me to crave sex. The effect of the quirk finally has gone away after 13 years. He felt like throwing up, realizing that his flirtatious teacher had been forced into having sex all these years. Wait, was that why she seemed to change recently, to be less flirtatious? He had seen her turning down an offer on the news lately, when normally she was shown to always be down for it, unless the guy was a creep. Midoriya, I'm telling you this, so that if you need someone who understands what happened to you, then you can come to me, all right? Izuku nodded. Midnight smiled and held an arm out, pausing as she asked, Can I ruffle your hair? Another nod, and Izuku felt a hand ruffling through his hair, a gesture that Izuku had found to be calming. Would you like a hug? He hesitated, eyeing her for a moment, but then scooted over and was embraced by a pair of arms. Quickly he realized hugging Midnight was different than Yamada or Aizawa. With them he felt safe, protected. That unknown emotion Izuku felt he should know. With Midnight, he felt all of his worries drift away, his mind falling at ease, and he knew beyond a doubt that Midnight would keep him away from Izuku. That she understood him, in a way Aizawa or Yamada never would. He felt a sense of camaraderie. Nemuri smiled, feeling like she was on clouds as she walked to school. She wasn't even exaggerating, as she knew what it was like to be on actual clouds thanks to her boyfriend Oboro. Her smile turned even brighter. She and Oboro had just started dating recently, and she fell in love with him just a bit more every day. God, her own thoughts felt so cheesy, but it was true. He was the perfect boyfriend. They even had their own kid, Sushi. Today, though, she was going to talk with her homeroom teacher and see about changing her marketing. Her first year here, she had known her skin was needed to use her quirk and so had gone for a very skin-open costume design. Her internship had her gaining a lot of attention, and during her second year, when she officially got a marketing team, they helped her to build her R-rated hero persona. Now in her third year, with a few more years under her belt, she hated it. She wanted to show that women shouldn't feel like they should be forced to dress a certain way. But now she came off more as a slut, a prize for the guys to drool over. She was constantly being forced to tell guys no. She wasn't interested, but at the same time her marketing team was telling her to flirt with them, and that she should be saying yes. That if she kept saying no, she would never be as good as a hero. They were marketing her as sex appeal, a hero attainable to every guy at least for a night. Nemuri didn't want to be with every guy, just one. She was happy with Oboro. It was him that gave her the courage to talk with her homeroom teacher and marketing team. He told her it wasn't too late to rebrand, that many heroes rebranded through their hero career. By the end of the day, she was sobbing as Oboro held her, rage shining in his eyes as she told him that they refused to change her marketing. She was stuck as the R-rated hero. All right, listeners, this concludes Chapter 57 of Little Acts of Kindness. Chapter 58 will be up next. Personally, I'm a big fan of this chapter because you finally get the confirmation of Iroquois's identity from previous chapters, and you finally get the actual confirmation of it. I mean, personally, I think that the author did a nice job cluing you in with certain chapter titles, like A Midsummer Night's Dream, which was for Chapter 30. And the author even comments in their notes on this one, aka Midnight's Summer Dream. So I think that it's really nice that you get that official confirmation. You also get the support of Midnight for Izuku during, the escape of Nashidoi from prison. So I think that it's a really nice chapter of Izuku getting outside support from other people as well. And I also liked the little flashback that the author gave as well, too, showing the connection between Midnight and Oboro and her desire to have changed her hero persona at one point. So I'm eager to hear your thoughts and reactions to this chapter as well. And as always, thank you so much for listening.